Have you ever thought about remodeling a house? You might look at the floor plan and realize that by knocking down a few interior walls or putting up some new dividers, you could create a completely different living space. The Constitution of India actually treats the country's internal map a lot like that adaptable house blueprint. The interior layout can and does change. Article 1 establishes a primary rule. India is a union of states. It wasn't formed by independent states joining together, like roommates sharing rent. The nation was built as a single entity first. Because of this, no individual state can leave the country. So, while the interior rooms of the house might be flexible, the external, outer borders of the Indian house are forged in steel. They are permanent. Let's stick with our house analogy for a moment. Imagine the family living there decides to buy an empty lot right next door to expand their property. This section here, Article 2, gives the national parliament the exact power to do that. It allows them to bring brand new outside territories into the Union of India as new states. Expanding the outside is one thing, but what about rearranging the inside of the existing house? That brings us to Article 3. This outlines Parliament's authority to alter the existing internal map of the country. Looking at this list, we see they can create a new state by taking territory away from an existing one, or they can take two or more separate states and merge them together into a single block. They also have the power to simply increase or diminish a specific state's total area, redraw its boundary lines, or even just give it a completely new name. In short, the central government acts as the ultimate head of the household. They hold absolute authority over how the inside of the nation is laid out. Now, you might naturally wonder, do the people living in these states get a say? Do they get a veto before the central government changes their borders? This graphic outlines two specific conditions laid down in Article 3. The first is that any bill proposing to change a border needs the prior recommendation of the president before it can even be introduced. The second condition is where the states come in. Before giving that recommendation, the president has to send the proposed bill down to the affected state's legislature to ask for their views on the matter. But there is a catch, listed right down here in the note. The president and parliament are legally required to ask for the state's opinion, but they are not bound by those views. They don't actually have to listen to or accept them. Normally, making major changes to how a country is structured requires rewriting parts of the Constitution, a process that is usually incredibly difficult and time-consuming. But as this section on Article 4 shows, moving these internal borders is considered standard maintenance. It's not treated as a formal constitutional amendment, which means these laws can be passed with just a simple majority vote in Parliament. So the central government's ability to redraw the map is designed to be highly streamlined. It ensures the country can quickly adapt as the needs of its population shift over time. To see how this works in reality, we just have to look at history. The map of India when it gained independence in 1947 looked entirely different than the one we know today. In those early years, citizens across the country strongly desired to have the state borders redrawn. They wanted populations grouped by the native languages they spoke. This timeline points to the first major instance the government used its powers. In 1953, they created Andhra Pradesh. As noted, they carved out Telugu-speaking areas from Madras state, essentially building a new room for that linguistic group. That single event proved how flexible the Constitution really was. It kicked off decades of internal border adjustments, a process of careful remodeling that continues as the population evolves. It leaves us with one powerful summary of India's structure. The outer borders are permanently secured, but the inner borders are entirely adaptable. It is an indestructible union of destructible states.